One thing I appreciate in this formulation of the 5 ways that you have honed is that in the years I've been studying with you, the role of what is now called focus on positive was not emphasized a lot in retreats. And when you formulated the 5 ways, you made this place for what you call focus on positive that includes it. We used to have some place for loving kindness, but this is this huge, broad range of content that this covers. And I wanted to know, since you've been incorporating that as one of the 5 ways that you're doing, I wondered if you've noticed a shift or any change in your students in the teaching and the, if that's been lubricating the experience in any kind of way or not.
It's definitely made an improvement. The idea was, or I guess the central insight behind it, was to realize that all over the world there is a vast range of practices that all have something in common. What they have in common is they involve intentionally creating and holding positive content in your subjective world. Now, by the subjective world, I mean mental image, internal talk, and emotional type body sensation. So there's a traditional practice that goes with mindfulness called loving kindness, where you do that, but it's in a certain direction. There's certain set words typically that one uses. There are certain set emotions that may or may not accompany that in the body and so forth. And typically people, well, I don't say typically, but a lot of people don't like doing it. It's just like, I don't want to turn love on like a faucet kind of thing, or it doesn't work for them, it leaves them cold.
Or at that moment.
Or it brings up the opposite. Right. So it occurred to me that, well, that's a specific instance of a much broader, more general phenomenon. If you were to do cognitive behavioral therapy, they would have you intentionally create certain kinds of talk that was more rational. And you would try to hold that and pay attention to that, even though irrational talk might be coming up. Some people are into the laws of attraction, manifestation, the secret.
Oh, the secret, right.
Yeah, the power of positive thinking. Now, I don't comment on the validity or falseness of that belief system, but in fact that involves intentionally visualizing, working with image space and so forth. For that matter, prayer, as it's traditionally done, certainly involves talk space, and in the Catholic form, if you're doing the rosary, you've got talk, you're supposed to visualize certain scenes of the Stations of the Cross and so forth. You've got the Pater Noster, the Ave Maria in talk space, which is a Christian mantra, and you're supposed to have certain joyful or sorrowful emotions in your body. So they're working intentionally with feel, image, talk. Vajrayana practice, same deal. Athletes visualizing their perfect performance. People visualizing desirable outcomes of success. People wishing well for other people in a general way. People visualizing their own improved behavioral changes in personal behavior. There's this vast range of things that people do, and they all have something in common. They involve working with 1, 2, or all 3 of the subjective sensory elements, not in the sense of observe, but in the sense of actively create and hold. So it occurred to me, why not just unify that, give people the choice to do it in whatever way they want, And that way they're not limited. And if they want to do a sort of gushy loving kindness, that's fine. If they want to do a sort of new agey magical thinking, that's fine. If they want to do a cold, rational, cognitive reframing, that's fine too. If they want to merge with an archetype, hey, that's fine too. Well, however you want to do it, just do it. But understand that in doing that, you are actually doing a kind of mindfulness practice. See, I
It's
put...
brilliant to give that freedom, though.
Yeah. Well, so that's helped. You in an answer to your question,
Right.
it's people having that freedom to do that.
Right.
Now they can get into it, whatever
Right.
it may be. But from my perspective, my main interest in having people do this is as a form of mindfulness. Now that's not traditional. Usually the loving kindness and whatever is in contrast to mindfulness. But I see it as under the category of mindfulness because of the way I choose to define mindfulness. I define mindfulness as any practice that elevates concentration power, sensory clarity, and equanimity. And I would claim that holding certain positive content in feel, image, talk, do you have to have concentration to do it? Sure. So it will build concentration. You have to have equanimity with all the distractions of negative that will come up. Because when I teach it, it's not a fight between positive and negative. It's a selective attention to positive and let the negative just run rampant if it wants. You're not trying to reject the negative and identify with the positive. You're just selectively focusing on the positive. So you're having equanimity with the negative. You're not pushing it down. You're not locking onto it either. So the equanimity piece is there. And probably most important, you're developing sensory clarity because you're getting a familiarity with the three subjective spaces, not by observing them, but by actively creating with them. So it's a kind of active learning to become intimate with your subjective experience. So from that perspective, it falls perfectly within the category of mindfulness practice. So it gives people an enormous freedom to do what's interesting and fun for them, while at the same time developing the core skills that are the defining feature of mindfulness. So it's worked out very well.
It's brilliant.